Forgotten by Design, Part 16, Revelations at the Federation Council. The sun was setting over the Federation's capital, its orange and purple hues reflecting off the grand edifice of the Federation Council. The envoy's departure was still fresh in Admiral Lansing's mind as he made his way through the Council's vast corridors. The weight of the knowledge he carried weighed heavily on him, but he knew the importance of sharing it with his fellow Earth ambassadors. Stepping into a secured chamber, its walls lined with shimmering blue crystals that emitted a calming hum, he found the other ambassadors already waiting. They exchanged formal greetings, their postures revealing curiosity, but also some underlying tension. They all knew that Lansing had called this unscheduled meeting for something significant. "Thank you all for coming at such short notice," Lansing began, trying to keep his voice steady. "What I'm about to share might be hard to believe, but I implore each of you to keep an open mind." He paused for a moment, collecting his thoughts. "A few days ago, during a visit to the market, I thought I saw someone from Earth," he said hesitantly. "A child, in fact. I dismissed it as a mere coincidence, a play of shadows, perhaps. But that evening, Counselor Zyrine visited me." He could see the ambassadors leaning in, their attentiveness palpable. "Zyrine informed me about a hidden community within the Federation, one that we were never made aware of during our briefings or our stay so far." Taking a deep breath, he added, "They're called the Orions, and they are descendants of humans, our own kin, who were abducted from Earth centuries ago." The room grew silent. Every face was painted with disbelief and confusion. One ambassador, a woman with a silver streak in her hair, finally spoke up. "Abducted? By whom? And why?" Lansing nodded. "It seems that for eons, there were forces within the galaxy that traded in sentient beings. Humans were a part of that dark commerce. Over time, they were scattered across different worlds, used as slaves, traded as commodities. But the Federation," he continued, "stepped in about 150 years ago. They put an end to this abhorrent practice. These abducted humans were no longer slaves. The Federation granted them the same rights as every other member of the Federation, and they adopted the name Orions." The room was filled with a whirlwind of emotions. There was shock, disbelief, but also pain. To think that their own kin had been taken, made slaves, and then integrated into a completely different civilization was almost too much to grasp. Another ambassador, an older gentleman with deep-set eyes, broke the silence. "Have you met them? These Orions?" Lansing nodded. "Yes, I have. They've carved out a life for themselves here in the Federation. They're thriving, contributing in various capacities, from agriculture to the Navy. Despite their tragic history, they've found a sense of belonging here." The discussion continued, with each ambassador processing the revelation in their own way. Some were visibly shaken, others contemplative, but all were united in their thirst for knowledge. They posed questions, saw details, and expressed a shared sentiment of reconnection. The aftermath of truth. The council chamber echoed with the intensity of 100 whispered conversations. The ambassadors were like a mosaic of human emotion. Shock, disbelief, curiosity, and hope. "How are they faring in the Federation?" one ambassador asked, his voice filled with concern. Another inquired, "Do they harbor resentment towards Earth for not having searched for them? What do they think of their homeland now?" Lansing, feeling the weight of the responsibility, signaled for calm. "I understand your questions and concerns. Let me try to shed light based on my interactions with the Orions." He took a deep breath, and as the room went silent, he began. "The Orions, despite their origins, have found a genuine sense of belonging in the Federation. They have embraced the cultures, values, and ethos of this vast cosmic alliance. At the same time, they've maintained a unique identity, blending their human heritage with their new lives. Lansing continued. When I met them, I sensed a pride in what they have achieved here. They have businesses, work in various sectors, and have even taken to the stars as traders and explorers. The pain of their ancestors' abduction is a part of their history, but they do not let it define their future. An ambassador with keen, searching eyes questioned. Do they ever speak of Earth? Of their origins? Do they wish to return? To some, Earth is a distant legend, stories passed down through generations, Lansing replied. For others, it's a curiosity they wish to explore. While they are curious about their ancestral planet, the Federation is now their home. The foundation of their current lives is here. He paused for a moment, allowing the information to sink in. I prepared a comprehensive report detailing everything I've learned about the Orions. It will soon be transmitted to Earth. I believe this revelation will pave the way for collaborative efforts, shared experiences, and perhaps reunions. The room felt heavy with contemplation. Many of the ambassadors were lost in thought, perhaps visualizing their own encounters with the Orions, trying to bridge centuries of separation with a single conversation. Breaking the thoughtful silence, a young ambassador voiced what many were feeling. I wish to meet them, to understand their experiences, hear their stories. It's the least we can do. Lansing nodded. I think it would be good for all of us to meet them. The Orions are a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. Despite everything, they found a way to persevere and thrive. The meeting slowly dispersed, but the weight of the revelations lingered. The ambassadors left with a unified purpose, to reconnect with their long-lost kin and understand the vast tapestry of their shared yet divergent histories. An unsettling discovery. The deep black expanse of space, sprinkled with distant stars and glowing celestial bodies, provided a serene backdrop to the Ambassadorial ship as it gracefully cruised towards Earth. Inside, delegates from the Federation engaged in spirited discussions, shared meals, or enjoyed moments of solitary reflection. The ship was a cocoon of shared purpose and hope. A young technician named Alara, assigned to routine maintenance, was engrossed in her work, her tool belt jingling softly with every move. She hummed to herself as she worked on recalibrating the ship's environmental systems. As she opened a rarely accessed panel in one of the ship's many corridors, her humming ceased instantly. Behind the panel, nestled amidst the usual array of wires and circuits, was a device she didn't recognize. Its small screen blinked ominously, displaying a countdown. Her heart raced as she immediately realized its sinister implication. The ship was in grave danger. The alarm she sounded echoed throughout the vessel, turning the previously tranquil atmosphere into one of sharp urgency. Within moments, the ship's captain and a few key crew members rushed to the scene. A specialized team, consisting of the ship's chief engineer, a physicist, and a security officer, was hastily assembled. The rest of the crew and delegates were instructed to move to the far end of the ship, as far away from the potential blast zone as possible. The security officer, Commander Lyria, was the first to voice the question on everyone's mind. Who would want to sabotage this mission? And why? The engineer, a gruff yet skilled individual named Callan, was more focused on the task at hand. We can speculate motives later, he growled, adjusting his thick glasses. Right now, we need to defuse this thing. The physicist, Dr. Nilo, peered at the device, noting its advanced design. This isn't standard Federation technology, he mused. This is something more sophisticated. Alara, the technician who discovered the bomb, stayed close, offering whatever assistance she could. She couldn't shake off the guilt, wondering if she should have checked the panel sooner. As the minutes ticked by, the team worked feverishly, deciphering the device's mechanics. The entire ship seemed to be holding its collective breath, waiting for either the soft beep that would signal the bomb's deactivation or the devastating blast that would signal its detonation. At one point, Dr. Nilo looked up, sweat on his brow. "This is like nothing I've ever seen. It's almost as if it's designed to resist defusal attempts," Callan growled in frustration. "Then we need to find another way," Lyra suggested. "Can we jettison it into space?" Nilo shook his head. "Not without risking the ship. If it detects an attempt to remove it, it might detonate." Hours seemed like seconds. Each move, each decision was weighed with the knowledge that it could be their last. But as the countdown reached its final hour, a breakthrough emerged. Elara, having fetched a piece of equipment from the ship's lab, connected it to the bomb. "This might disrupt its circuitry," she whispered. Calden nodded. "It's worth a shot." With bated breath, they activated the device. The countdown on the bomb screen flickered, hesitated, and finally froze. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the ship. But the relief was short-lived as the realization set in. Someone among them was a saboteur. The journey to Earth had taken a dark and dangerous turn. A ship divided. In the aftermath of the bomb's discovery, the ship's once harmonious atmosphere turned toxic. Every look held suspicion, every whisper concealed a theory, and every meeting held an undertone of distrust. The spacious, comfortable chambers of the ship seemed to shrink, closing in on its occupants. Crew members congregated in huddled groups, casting wary glances at the delegates. The delegates, for their part, looked at each other with fresh suspicion. After all, each represented different interests within the Federation, with different visions for the future relationship with Earth. Delegate Farron, a tall and imposing figure from one of the Federation's most influential planets, was the first to openly voice his doubts. "It's clear that this is a political act," he said, directing his pointed gaze at several of his peers. "One of you sees an advantage in this mission failing." Delegate Lyra, known for her calm and diplomatic nature, replied with a raised eyebrow, "You're quick to cast aspersions, Farron, perhaps a bit too quick." A murmur of agreement spread among some of the gathered officials, while others nodded in agreement with Farron. The divides were becoming evident. Meanwhile, among the crew, speculation ran rife. The ship's security personnel were inundated with reports and theories. Crew member Jevon suggested maybe it was one of the newcomers. "They came on board just before we departed. We hardly know anything about them." But his colleague Mara wasn't convinced. "It's too obvious. They'd be the first suspects. The saboteur is someone who knows this ship, knows us. It's someone we wouldn't suspect." As tensions reached a boiling point, Commander Lyra took charge. She convened a meeting of all on board, hoping to restore a semblance of order. "We need to focus on the real threat," she began, her voice cutting through the thick atmosphere. "We still have a bomb on board. Pointing fingers will get us nowhere." Delegate Vero, a middle-aged, stocky individual known for his wit, couldn't resist, adding, "Unless one of those fingers is pointing at a bomb expert." Laughter rippled through the room, easing some of the tension. But beneath the surface, fears persisted. Some began to rally around those they trusted most, creating distinct alliances. Others, seeking to protect themselves, divulged secrets and past indiscretions in hopes of diverting suspicion. Delegate Nera, a rising star in the Federation known for her analytical mind, proposed a plan. "We need a system. Let's all detail our movements since boarding. It might help pinpoint any unusual activity." It was a sensible suggestion, and work began in earnest. Hours of reviewing security footage, cross-referencing testimonies, and detailed discussions ensued, yet the identity of the saboteur remained shrouded in mystery. The ship continued its journey, fraught with uncertainty and danger. The once bright promise of a new alliance between the Federation and Earth now hung by a thread. And in the dark corners of the ship, the ticking time bomb served as a grim reminder of the peril they all faced.